Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Xtrail Running Forum interview. Tonight, it's my honor and to have with us a great ultra runner, Hayden Hawks. Hello, Hayden. How are you?
Hey, good. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. All right, great. So we're going to kind of talk about what's going on in the present now for you. Are you in your off season now?
Yeah, kind of. I just started training again. And so I ran a race early October, and then after that, I kind of took about a month, 4 to 5 weeks off. Didn't run at all for 4 to 5 weeks, so that was kind of my big break for the year. And yeah, now I'm actually starting to train again and kind of building a base right now, doing some strength work and really getting ready for the upcoming season.
Okay, great, great. How does your training differ from the off season to in season?
Yeah, I'd say, well, this year I actually started picking up cycling. I've never really been a cycler. I mean, I've done a little mountain biking growing up in southern Utah. I mean, it's mountain biking heaven here. And so I've done some of that, growing up and everything. But I've never really did any like road cycling or anything like that. And so I actually ended up buying a bike because I got some advice from Jeff Browning mostly, and he was like, "Hey man, cycling does wonders. It's no impact, and you can still work on your cardio." And so I bought a gravel bike because where I live, there's a lot of gravel roads and really good places where you can ride and not get hit by cars, I guess you'd say. And so I've been cycling quite a bit during that break. 4 to 5 weeks, I cycled a lot, and now I'm still cycling and running. I implemented the running in, but yeah, during the off season, I've been liking to mix a little cross training in with running. That way, I can still keep the cardio up, but have less impact on the legs and help the muscles and the legs recover. And then I also do a lot of strength training during the off season. I go to the gym about 2 to 3 times a week and lift pretty heavy during this time and really build some muscle and build some strength and get rid of all those instabilities. That way I can train at full level, during the season and not be afraid of getting injured and stuff.
Okay, great. Now, when you are getting ready for the season, what's a typical training week for you?
Yeah. So in the base phase, my highest mileage weeks are going to be about 150 miles a week. So that's pretty good. Pretty good amount of miles there. The volume is pretty high. And then I also do some workouts in there too, where I'll do 2 to 3 like speed type workouts, whether that be a tempo or some pickups, maybe a track workout or something like that, because I feel like you not only need to, if you're a trail runner, you not only need to be out, logging miles day in and day out and doing a ton of vert and stuff, but you also need to realize that you still need speed. And having that leg turnover, it builds running economy. It helps you be able to hit, miles, faster miles a lot easier. And so I do both, so I do a phase where I'll do like a base phase and then a strength phase where there's more tempos involved. And then I'll really hit some speed, leading up to a big race that I'm aiming for. I like to have about 3 or 4 races that I'm aiming for the whole year.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I only recently really started doing tempo work because I figured I'm running long distances. I'm running ultras. Why do I need tempo runs? I'm not running fast, but I've noticed a huge difference in leg strength, even on climbing, just by doing tempo runs. I think it's an invaluable asset to any runner.
It's very, very important. I come from a track background, and so I did a lot of workout type stuff in track and field and cross country. So I've just kind of transitioned that into the trail, changed a little bit up. I do more miles. I do, more trail type runs, mountain type runs, but I still keep some of that stuff that I've learned in the past that's worked for me. And I've kind of blended them together, and I've seen a lot of success doing it.
Okay, awesome. Okay, now you live in Utah, which is one of the most amazing areas to train in the world. The trails out there just must be amazing. But do you ever travel anywhere specifically to train?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, last year or this summer, actually, we spent almost the entire summer in Europe. Well, yeah, almost actually it was the entire summer. We spent, some time in Slovakia. I was there for a little bit. I was in Spain for a little bit, training up there. And then I also did some about 2 months in Chamonix, France, running around the trails there, getting a lot of vert in and just really enjoying the mountains there. I bring my family with me, so it's an awesome experience for the family. I have a young son. He's about 15 months old now, and so it's cool to see him. See these different places. Try different foods, and we've had an amazing time, me and my wife, and we plan on doing it in the future. Maybe not as much as we did this year. We did see that it's sometimes hard to travel a lot because you don't have a stable environment that you're training in, and you're not sleeping in your own bed, and so sometimes the recovery can be a little harder after races. So yeah, maybe before some bigger races I might stick to my home base a little bit. I got an amazing place to train here, but yeah, we like to implement the traveling into this whole thing because why not, man? I mean, it's such an amazing opportunity, and I'm so lucky that I have sponsors that really help me get to these places. And I love to travel. I love to see the world. I love to meet new people.
Yeah, and you have a perfect profession for it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So
okay. All right. I just want to remind everyone that you can ask any questions, anything that you want to ask Hayden via our Facebook page, Xtrail Running Forum. And we're also brought to you by CompraSport. So thanks to them for making this all possible. Okay, great. Now, you've had an amazing year this year racing. And the last race that you did was the Malnet Ultra in India. First of all, could you tell us a little bit about the race itself, how it went for you? And then also, what was it like racing in India?
yeah, it's definitely a different experience. India is definitely a different world. I coming from the US and going to Europe, I was like, oh, there's a lot of differences here. It's definitely a different place. But then going to India, I was like, wow, like my whole world just got turned upside down. Like this place is completely different than anywhere I've been in the entire world. And it was awesome, though. It was an awesome experience. I have a lot of friends. I made a lot of friends down there. I'm actually sponsored by a company called Unived, and Unived is an Indian-based company. They're based out of Mumbai in India. They're a supplement company. It's a vegan company, vegan supplements, and I've been loving their products for the last 2 years. They've worked really well in my racing. And so I was talking to them and they're like, hey man, we should get you out to India. Like we have a cool race that you can come run and have a good time and run with the community and help build the trail community here. And I was like, sign me up. I'm ready to go. Like I've always wanted to go to India. And so I flew out. I did some work with some trail groups out there. I did some work with my company, and then I went to this race. And it was so cool, man. I mean, it's a little difficult to get to the race. I mean, we had about a 5-hour train ride, which was cool because you got to see a whole, land of India. And then we had about another 2-hour bus ride to the place. And it was out in the middle of nowhere in this coffee plantation. And so if you're looking for just an adventure, like a cool experience, I highly recommend this race because you're going to get, it's an adventure. It really is. You go out there, you're in this place, it's like a third world part of India where, there's people, that are just living very simple lives out there. And you get to meet these people and really have this cool experience. And, I ended up winning the race. I broke the course record and had a great time out there and really was able to connect with the Indian trail running community. It's a growing community. It's pretty new. They haven't had a lot of trail runners in the past, but you see it really growing recently. And it's just been incredible to see. I also was able to spend some time in the Himalayas and see that part of India. And I was out there for almost 2.5 weeks exploring India. and I really fell in love with that country and the people and the food and everything. So
Gotcha. Now, I just a question about India. You mentioned the train ride. Was it like the train, where the people are selling things in the train and there's people on top of the train? Was it like what we see in the films, or was it something
exactly what you see in the film? People coming up and down the aisles selling. Nobody, everybody had assigned seats, but nobody was sitting in their assigned seats. Some people were hanging out the windows. Some people were hanging out the doors. I mean, that's the thing about India is there's not a lot of rules there. And that's what was so crazy is, the US and Europe, we have a lot of rules, there's law enforcement that enforce things. But in India, there's not really anything like that. I mean, there is, but they don't really do a lot. And I think maybe there's so many people that it's hard to control. Gotcha. But I kind of liked it. I mean, it's kind of cool to feel like you're breaking the rules, but you're not really breaking the rules.
Right.
So,
all right, cool.
It was a great time.
Yeah. Now you also mentioned Univid, which is one of the products that you were actually sponsored by, which is like an electrolyte fuel, right?
They make a wide variety of products. They make anywhere. I mean, they make vitamins and minerals, supplements like that. They also make a drink mix and a gel and a recovery mix. They've started introducing some other things like vegan meat and different products like that. We're coming out with a sock line actually. Cool. So I work really, I work a lot with this company. They've really been great in supporting me over the years, and the products are amazing. Like I loved the products. We're coming out with a new Hawks line. It's a new drink mix that we're coming out with in January. It's a new kind of formula that we formulated. I've tested it and I've seen what really works with me in different products that I've used over the years. And we formulated this drink mix that is just incredible. It's got these, the right type of amino acids, carbohydrates. It's incredible. I mean, it's going to be perfect. It's going to be a drink mix that, along with a gel that we're also coming out with a new gel, you're going to be able to take one gel and one drink mix in an hour and get 90 grams of carbohydrates, which is the max your body can take in, therefore helping keep your energy levels up and helping you to be able to finish just as strong at the end of the race as you started, in these ultra marathons. And so I highly approve of this drink mix because I created it, and I hope it leads me to great success in the future. So
great. I hope so too. We'll definitely be looking out for it here in Portugal.
Yeah. For sure.
Now, so you were talking a little bit about nutrition and some of the products they have. What do you use for in-race nutrition?
Yeah. So for in-race nutrition, I've tried everything over the years. I'm going into my 30s, so I shouldn't say the years. I'm not a veteran yet. I'm still kind of a new guy. But I've had a lot of races that I've tried stuff. And I've really found that the thing that works best for me are drink mixes, gels, and fruit. That's all I use in races now. And it works really well. You got to find out what works best for you. Some people can eat full meals during a race and that works great for them. I just seen that I can't do that. And so, I use the Univid drink mix, the Univid gels. I'll take this new thing. I'll take one drink mix and one gel an hour with a little bit of fruit as well. In the past, I've done, 2 gels an hour and 1 drink mix an hour, and it's worked great in about 18 ounces of water. But yeah, that's what's worked for me, and I'm going to continue to do it because I can stomach it, and my energy levels seem to stay up the whole time. But yeah, I definitely encourage people to see what works best for them. Definitely try the products out before you go into a race. Don't just take products, nothing you've never used in a race, because I've done that and it doesn't work well usually. So, but yeah, try out the new drink mix and see if you like it. And if you don't like that, try some other products too and see what works best for you.
Definitely. I'm actually kind of the same way. I use a different, I guess a competitor, but I use a drink mix also. And I pretty much just use that and fruit. But here in Portugal at aid stations, I've seen like pork sandwiches and beef sandwiches, and beer.
Yeah.
Beer seems to be popular. I couldn't imagine. Now, I has carbs and calories, but I'd rather get my calories and carbs in a different form. I couldn't imagine and then here's another thing too. It's warm beer. So I couldn't imagine in the middle of an ultra drinking a warm beer.
I don't know about that. I mean, aid stations are a lot different in Europe than they are in the US. I'll tell you that much. So I've never eaten in the US. We don't serve meat and cheese during races. And that seems to be a big thing in France is they always have like these like fine meats and cheeses and stuff. And I'm like, I just don't know about that.
Yeah, guys, especially cheese. Oh, I love cheese. Don't get me wrong. I love cheese, but not during a race.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, awesome. Great. So we did have a question here from Hugo Silva, who's watching online. And he would like to know, do you prepare for each race differently, or you just train basically the same way for each race?
No, I definitely prepare differently. I study my races. You know, if I'm getting ready for a specific type of race, you know, all races are different. Some are more runnable, some are more mountain type races. And so if it's a more mountain type race, more of my training is going to be in the mountains. You know, I'm going to do more elevation gain during my training block. If it's more of a faster race, I'm going to do more tempo type workouts, you know, more often. I'm going to do more flatter type runs where I can keep a higher pace and because, you know, your muscles have to be able to adapt and they have to be ready for the stresses that each race gives to you. And so, yeah, the training blocks are definitely different, you know, leading up to a specific type of races. I would say the overall concept of a base strength period and then a speed period is the same, but the workouts are different as they are adapted and focused more on what kind of stress the race is going to put on my body. Gotcha. And so yeah, I guess that answers the question there.
Yeah, definitely. Do you use a coach?
I do, yeah. So I'm a coach actually myself. I have a degree in exercise science and human performance. And so I understand the whole concept of exercise science, exercise physiology. But I have a coach because it gives me somebody that I have to be accountable to. You know, it gives me a different insight, a different perspective because, you know, sometimes I can see things that he can't see. He can see things that I can't see. So it's nice to have a coach. It's my assistant coach from college who he really helped me in college and helped me get to the level I needed to in college. And so I asked him if he could do the same thing after. And he said, you know, I've never done trail, but I definitely will work on it together. And it seems to work really well. And now he's become an excellent trail coach. He has a PhD in exercise physiology. And so he understands the body and he understands the stresses and the adaptations that the body needs. But yeah, we work together and it works really, really well. And I would encourage people to find a coach who they are not afraid to talk to. And they're not afraid to really tell them how they feel, because that's why I'm with my coach. And it works miracles. And I give a lot of the credit to all these victories and the wins that I've had over the years to my coach, for sure.
Awesome. Great. I'm sure he'll love to hear that. Yeah. Good. You do seem to have a big fan here in Portugal. Sergio Nunes has a comment that just says the best. So I guess you have a big fan here in Portugal. That's awesome, Sergio. Thanks for the comment.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Sergio.
Yeah. Hugo Silva has another question, which I think kind of we talked a little bit about before, but it's a little more specific. Now you do have in-season training, but how long do you prepare, I guess, before a race? Like you have a race, how long do you start preparing specifically for that race before the race?
Yeah. I like to have a 12 to 16 week training block. 16 weeks is better. You know, some races I don't have that much time, you know, and so I'm not able to get in the proper training block. But if I'm getting prepared for a big race, like I'm getting prepared for Gran Canaria in February. It's about 14 weeks out. And so it's like a good training block where I can build a base, you know, do the strength and then do the speed. And the longer the training block I've seen, the better. If you can build a bigger base, that base is going to help you get through, up to that race and then help you throughout your whole season. But yeah, I would say at least 12 weeks is optimal. I know everybody doesn't have that, but if you can make time for 12 weeks, I think that's when you're going to see your best performances. I kind of take an approach like a marathoner. Marathoners, they have a big marathon that they do in the spring, and they usually have a big marathon they do in the fall. And they have 6 months in between those two big races. And in those 6 months is where they train and they do specific stuff. Maybe they'll do a 5K or 10K or half marathon, to prepare for these big races. But I think it's good to have a little separation between races because it really helps you prepare properly for your big efforts. So I like to pick, like I said, 2 to 3 big efforts for the entire year that I can just really, really focus on getting ready for those races. And therefore I'm prepared and I'm on my A game going into those big races.
Cool. All right. I just want to remind everyone that you can go online and you can ask any questions or make any comments or a question that you'd like Hayden to ask. If you do ask a question, don't worry. We'll try to get to as many as we can. And so please feel free to comment or ask any questions that you'd like of Hayden. Okay, great, Hayden. Now we were talking about racing, your last race, the Malnad Ultra. Excuse me. Wow. And last year you actually won the CCC at UTMB. This year you did the TDS and it didn't quite go as well. You DNF'd. Can you kind of tell us like what happened, how the race went, and why you ultimately DNF'd?
Yeah, it was really, really hard to DNF. That's my first DNF ever, but it was an injury. I told myself when I started doing ultras, I said I will never DNF a race unless an injury is involved, where it's gonna take me out for an extended period of time, or where I just physically can't do it because this injury is limiting me. And that's what happened. After Lavaredo, I had a good race at Lavaredo, but after Lavaredo, I had a hard time recovering. And I ended up developing a little bit of an injury in my glute. And it kind of kept going, and it kind of went off and on. And I thought it was gone by the time I got to TDS. And that's why if people follow me on social media, I was kind of going up and down if I was going to run UTMB or if I wasn't going to run UTMB, because I really wanted to run UTMB. But then this injury came up, and I haven't been able to train properly for a race like UTMB. So I decided to go down to TDS. And then I was still a little nervous that this injury is going to do something for TDS. But then it went away right before the race. And I was like, oh, great, I should be okay. But then I ran the first 50 kilometers of the race, and I got to 50K, and I was limping going into the aid station. It completely seized up on me. It started going down into my IT band and then down into my knee, and I couldn't run downhill whatsoever. I had to walk all the downhills because my leg was just completely locked up. And I tried, I did everything I could, stretched it out, tried to do everything I could at the 50K aid station, but it wasn't going away. And so I ended up, asking my wife and my family that was there, and was like, it was really hard, but they're like, hey, you need to be smart. And so I decided to be smart, and I decided to drop. And I'm glad I did, because I was able to go home and get worked on and get it away quicker than if I would have finished that race. And therefore running the Malnad Ultra, and therefore being healthy enough now that I can start training, at full strength again. And so it was a smart decision in the long run, but a really hard decision to make. And because I love that race, I love that environment. And, I just didn't, I don't like to DNF. So, but it was needed.
Yeah. Sometimes I guess, you just have to, especially when it's injury related. It's better off to just, live another, just live another day. I couldn't imagine especially as an elite DNFing, how hard that must be. But I think
Yeah,
you have to
'cause
live for another day, because you might have finished that race just like you said, but in the long term, it would have been the work. It wouldn't have been a smart decision to continue.
Yeah, man, because this is like I felt amazing at 50K too. Like energy wise, I felt
Oh,
so good. And
that
I was
sucks.
leading the race for a lot of that race, at the beginning, and I felt amazing. And I was like, I honestly was like, I'm gonna win this race. Like if this injury doesn't flare up, I'm gonna win because I feel so good. And this so happened the injury flared up. So but
Yeah.
it is what it is, and that's what ultra running's about, man. It's you never know what's gonna happen. They're such long races. So
Yeah, you live and learn, I guess.
yep, exactly.
Okay, great. Now you had mentioned Lavaredo. You actually won Lavaredo Ultra Trail this year. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But I actually saw an interview that you had done after that race, and you had said that you had quite a bit of difficulty. You actually didn't feel well during that race at the beginning, and then you kind of turned it around and actually finished strong enough to win it. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened during the race?
Yeah, for sure. So we kind of made a bad choice. I mean, we were living in Chamonix, and instead of taking a flight to Venice and then driving up to Lavaredo, we decided, hey, we're gonna drive. Like we'll see some good scenery and everything. And our GPS ended up taking us the wrong route, and so it was supposed to be like a 5-6 hour drive. It ended up being like a 10-11 hour drive, and that was the day before the race. And
Oh
so
yeah.
I think maybe that's why I felt a little bad at the beginning of the race. Now that I look back on it, I didn't really think about that. I don't like to make excuses, but I think maybe that was a little bit because the first part of that race, man, I was locked up. I felt horrible. The first 50K, I just couldn't get my legs to go. Like it was like I felt like I was running through mud the whole 50K of
Wow.
that race. And I remember going down a downhill, and Tim Tollefson and a bunch of other guys blow past me on the downhill. And Tim Tollefson's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, man. Like, no, I can't go. Like, my legs won't go." And he's like, "Well, just keep eating, man. Keep eating, keep pushing, and I guarantee, like, it'll turn around." And so that's exactly what I did. I kept eating, I kept pushing, and I got to 80K, and all of a sudden I felt amazing. Like, I felt like probably the best I've ever felt in a race. And I started pushing, and I caught everybody and ended up taking the lead, and then ended up, winning the race. And it was just such a change of emotions in that race, going from feeling like, man, I'm going to lose. Like, I don't even know if I can finish this race, to being like, wow, I feel like I'm on top of the world. And
Yeah.
then at the end, I wasn't eating enough. And so my blood sugar went really low, and I started getting dizzy the last like 5-10 kilometers of that race. And I finished the race, but for the last 5 kilometers, I didn't know if I was gonna finish, man, because like I
Wow.
was and pushing through this like dizziness. But I finished, and I won the race. I ended up kind of collapsing at the finish line because my blood sugar was so low, and they ended up feeding me like sugar cubes in the tent and putting a whole bunch of bottles of IV in me, and I got out of it. But it was an incredible race. Looking back on it, I really enjoyed the race, even though I had hard times and low times. But like I said before, that's what ultra running is about, man. You have the low times, you have the high times, and it's just learning how to keep a strong mindset in the low times, but also keeping that strong mindset in the high times, and just try to not be, too one way. Like keep
Right.
very equal, and keep yourself very level-headed, I guess you'd say, in the race.
Right. That's awesome. Two points that I got out of that story, which is pretty amazing. First of all, like Carl Meltzer says, it doesn't always get worse. So you started off feeling like crap and ended up winning a race.
Yep.
So you do have highs and lows. I think that's something that people who have done this sport realize, that there are highs, there are lows. You have to handle and try to deal with the lows as best you can and enjoy the highs. And the second point I got is, in what other sport would your competitors like support you that way and tell you, hey, hang in there, it's going to get better, and then you end up winning. And I'm sure they were all happy for you winning the race.
Yeah. I don't know. Right when I passed them, if they were happy, because they're like, "Oh man, what the heck?" Like, especially Pau Capel. I mean, he was leading for like almost the whole entire race, and I passed him like the last 20 kilometers. And
Wow.
but yeah, I mean, we're all in it to conquer the course. You know, we're not in it to sit here and beat each other up. You know, that's not what ultra running's about. Ultra running's such a community. It's such a cool community, a very, you know, community driven sport where everybody's in there to support one another. And the ultimate goal is to conquer the mountains, conquer the course, and get to that finish line, you know, the best way that you possibly can. And I've raced against these guys numerous times. You know, they've had their low times, I've had my low times, and we've all just helped drag each other to the finish line, and therefore running faster times than we even thought possible. Yeah. And so it's an incredible sport. You know, that's why I'm in this sport, you know, it's
the greatest sport in the world.
The people, yeah, exactly, and the community.
And another great thing about it too is that, you know, a lot of people are in it, like myself. Obviously, like you're an elite, so you know, it's a little different perspective than me. But like me, I'm in the middle of the packer. But to me, you know, it's all about the camaraderie with the other people in the race. You know, I've been in the middle of races where I'm, you know, running along with somebody I've met for the first time, and we're joking, we're telling each other our life story during the middle of a race. And I think that's just what makes this sport so special. And people really do it to have fun.
Exactly.
I mean, people really do it to have fun. And I think once you stop having fun, it's really not worth doing anymore.
Exactly. And the cool thing about it, I mean, whether you're a mid of the pack runner and the back of the pack runner or an elite, we're all out there, you know, suffering, you know, like, yeah, maybe the elites are running faster, so they're suffering, but we're maybe suffering a little harder, but we're suffering for a shorter period of time. You know, these back of the pack people are suffering, but they're suffering for such a long period of time that we're all suffering the same way. You know what I mean? Right. And we're all in it together. And it's just so cool to see it, you know, like middle of the pack, back of the pack runners inspire me more than elite runners do, because awesome. It's just so incredible what we're out there doing and what we're accomplishing. And most of these people, I mean, they got full-time jobs, they got families that, you know, and they're trying to just fit in running. You know, I'm a full-time athlete, you know, I have plenty of time to train. And so kudos to them, man. Kudos to them.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's amazing. And that is true. You know, you have people like at UTMB who are taking 48 hours to finish a race. I mean, I've never done it. And if I do it, I'll probably be one of those people that are taking 2 days to do it. But
never know,
to sit out there because it's one thing, all right, you're an elite, you suffer for a lot. It's 20 hours or 24 hours, which is a long time. But to be out there for 2 nights, you know, just suffering, it's just, and then the thing is too, is, you know, like a race like UTMB, you have the elements, you have the elevation gain, you have, it's brutal to be out there for 2 days doing that. But you know, it's awesome that people do.
Especially this year with the weather. I mean, it was crazy this year. So.
And all the DNFs. I mean, it was DNF. It was like the year of the DNF.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, great. Okay, now we've actually have a couple questions in our queue. First one is from, and he's been waiting a while for this one, but I wanted to find the right time. Is Nuno Cabeça. He has a question. Do you have any bucket list races like Barkley or Hard Rock or Badwater or whatever?
Not Barkley, not Barkley, but no, I do have a couple. I mean, UTMB is a bucket list race for sure. Western States and Hard Rock. I really want to do all 3 of those races, and I will hopefully do those in the next 2 or 3 years. So yeah, I would say those are my 3 main bucket list races: UTMB, Hard Rock, and Western States.
Awesome. Great. Okay. We also have we have a question from Barbara Fernandes, who's been waiting patiently for us to ask her a question. In the months spent in Europe, what have you learned about European trails and European trail running athletes?
They're tough as nails, man. European trail running athletes. I mean, some of those trails that they run are just so technical, and it's incredible how fast these people can descend down these technical trails, you know. And we have technical stuff here in the US, yes, for sure. But I just feel like the Europeans grow up like running technical trails from when they're like 5 years old or something, because, even though I train very hard on technical trails, I still can't seem to run as fast as Europeans on technical trails, no matter how hard I try.
Right,
And that's coming from a guy who has a lot of leg speed. And so, yeah, like I loved the trails in Europe. They're fun.
Yeah.
The technical aspects are very fun. It's like a game, trying to get down as fast as you can without falling. And, I've since being back in the US, I've actually sought out some of the more technical trails, and I kind of gravitate more towards them now. And coming back here, I run in with some of my buddies, and it's pretty cool because I can beat them like on technical downhills. And now I'm the guy flying on the technical downhills. And they're like, wow, like, how did you learn this? And I'm like, dude, just spend 3 months in Europe and, that's what happens. So
yeah, I'm a huge fan of downhills. Not so much uphills, but I'm a huge fan of downhills. But yeah, you have to come out to Portugal and try out some of our technical trails and practice here.
Yeah, for sure. I want to come to Portugal really bad. I've had some friends, and I actually had a brother-in-law who lived in Portugal, and they just talk. They say it's just amazing. So
yeah. Okay, great. Now we also have. Okay, it's almost the same question, but maybe you can add a little bit to it. It's from Bruno Santos. He has a question. Hi, Hayden. Congratulations on your running curriculum. Really amazing as an athlete and as a person. What main differences do you find between the U.S. and European athletes? So you'd mentioned the technical trails. Is there anything else that you find? Do you think it's like training conditions or genetics, or what do you think?
I think it's tradition. To be honest with you, I mean, we all have the same muscles. We're all built the same, physiology wise. Maybe somebody have a little bit more talent than other people, but really, I mean, between the U.S. and Europeans, it's, you see Europeans win races, you see U.S. athletes win races. We're all working hard. We're all trying to be the best we can, and I think it's more tradition though. Like in Europe, people love endurance sports. Whether that's cycling or ultra running or, those type of sports are so big in Europe. In the US, it's different. Kids don't grow up wanting to be an ultra runner or a cyclist. They grow up wanting to be a football player, a basketball player, a baseball player. And so like I grew up playing those sports. I grew up, I didn't run when I was younger. I ran when I turned about 16 years old, but when I was young, when, 8 years old to 16 years old, I didn't run at all. I played baseball and football and basketball. And in Europe, there's like this awesome tradition and this vibe that we love endurance sports. We're going to support endurance sports. We love endurance athletes. And I think it's cool. I think that's why Europe has kind of been so great at these ultra marathons and endurance sports. And now you see more Americans coming in, because that's transitioning here in the U.S. when our people are getting outdoors more. They're getting into the national parks. They're hiking at a younger age. They're running at a younger age. And you're seeing, a lot more, I guess, better U.S. trail runners because of that.
Right.
For the longest time, the Europeans have kind of been the head or been the top of ultra running. But now it's changing. And U.S. athletes are bringing in leg speed, which is scary, because you get 13-minute 5K runners coming in now, and and
I think that's really one of the, at least with the elites, where the sport is changing, is that you have these people that have been these athletes who have been 10K runners and have run through high school cross country, and they have this amazing amount of speed, and now they're getting into ultras, and they're if you notice, I mean, course records just go down, and FKTs, and they're constantly falling, because I think the athletes are just and the Americans, and that's another thing. So I think in general, ultra running is much more popular in Europe than it is in the US. You can see it at the races. There are races. I mean, there are races like every weekend you can go do an ultra marathon in Portugal. And I mean, Portugal's a small country, and you could do multiple. You could probably do on Saturday and Sunday almost every weekend of the year an ultra in Portugal. So I think in that case, but I really do think that the American athletes The elite athletes are really starting to catch up to the Europeans, and you can see it in the UTMB. I mean, Americans never made the podium. Now they're consistently making the podium.
Exactly. Okay. And it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, oh, awesome. I mean, I enjoy the sport. I mean, I'm kind of in between because I have my European side, but also have my American side. So for me, it's I root for all of them.
Okay, it's just the sheer numbers too. Yeah, I was gonna say the sheer numbers in Europe. These races are big because you can have more people out at the races. Our biggest races, like Western States and Hard Rock, you only had 200-300 people in the race because they're limited on how many people they can have in the race because of the lands. And we try to protect the land. Maybe a little. I don't know exactly how it works, but it's different that way too. So
right. Yeah, that is a big difference also too, because here, I mean, literally, like you have a local. Just like a local 30K race, and you'll have 300, 400, 500 people go do the race. It is, and especially, I don't know so much for the rest of Europe, but in Portugal, it has really, really taken off. It's amazing the amount of people that I run into now that ultra run in Portugal. Great. Now we've been talking about racing and everything. How do you recover from races? What's your recovery?
Yeah, that's been something I've been learning. This is my third year. I'm going into my third full year of ultra running, and that's been a thing for me over the last couple of years. I've seen is recovery, learning how to recover in between races. I think as you go on, as you do more ultras, you recover faster because your body just gets used to these races and the stress that's put on your body. Because when I first ran a 50K, dude, it took me like 2 or 3 months to fully recover from it. Now I can recover in like a week. And so I think it just, over time, your body learns to recover better. But I think also learning how to, I guess, get into more of a stable environment after you're done racing is been a thing for me. So after a big race, I used to travel a lot and I would never recover because I was traveling so much. But I've seen that if I can like either stay in the place after the race for a week or two, have a stable environment, or come home where I can get good sleep, good food back in me, hydrate well, just really have this stable environment, I recover so much faster. Cycling as well. I've just learning how to cycle and do this. I've seen that. And Jeff Browning actually taught me this. That's what he does after a big race. He'll just cycle for like 3 to 5 days, and that helps him recover because it's getting all the stuff out of your legs, but it's no impact on the legs, and you're still able to keep your cardio up. So I think cycling can be a really big thing, and I'll be testing that out a lot this year to see if it really helps with recovery.
Cool, awesome. Okay, we actually have a question here from Marisa Silva. How did you start running? Like, why did you start running? I mean, and what was your first race?
So I started running when I was 16 years old in cross country. In the U.S., we have a big cross country, and track and field is big in high school and as youth. And a lot of kids run track and field and cross country. And so I actually ended up getting cut from my baseball team when I was in high school, my sophomore year, my second year of high school. And I had a friend who invited me out to the cross country team. So I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. And he's like, just come out for a day, see how it feels. I was like, dude, I don't run, man. Like, running is for losers. That's pretty much what I told him. And I was like, only nerds run. I'm a nerd now, so I can say that. But he's like, dude, just come out, try it out. And so I went out for a day, and I actually liked it. And so I kept going back and back and back. And I kept pushing myself really hard. And I would like throw up after every run because I was like pushing myself so hard to the max, like every day. And after a while, I got really good at it. And I ended up continuing to run cross country, did really well in that, got a scholarship to run in college. And I think my first race was like a 5K cross country race, a local one. And it didn't go extremely well. Like I threw up like 3 or 4 times at the end, and I told my mom, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, this sucks. You have a meet next week, it'll be better. And so I went back the next week and it was better. And so, yeah.
Well, thanks to your mom, because
Yeah, exactly. She kept me going.
exactly. Great. Okay, good. We have a question from Manuel Moraes. What's your favorite race that you've done in the US? And what's the favorite race that you've done in Europe?
Yeah, favorite race I've done in the US is the Speed Goat 50K. That was my first ultra I ran. It's a really hard mountain 50K in Utah, here where I live, up in northern Utah, near Salt Lake City. And it's just an incredible course, very tough and difficult. Carl Meltzer puts on an incredible race. He makes it more hard than it needs to be. But it's fun. I love it. And I love the environment. I love the atmosphere. I love the mountains that you're running in. Incredible views. It's all at high elevation. And yeah, it's my favorite race, Speed Goat 50K. Cool. And then in Europe, my favorite race so far that I've done has to be the UTMB series in general. I mean, CCC was my favorite race probably that I've done. And I love all the races there, like the atmosphere, the environment. It's just an incredible race, and I love being there that weekend.
Cool, awesome. Okay, we also have a question from José Vicente. It's a pleasure to listen to you, Hayden. Which races and goals are you planning for this upcoming season?
Yes, that's a good question. I've been kind of sorting out the schedule, but the first race on the schedule is going to be Trans Gran Canaria on February 22nd, which is actually my birthday. February 22nd is my birthday, and the race starts on my birthday. So happy birthday to me. I get to go suffer throughout the entire night on my birthday.
At least it'll be a memorable birthday.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't forget that one.
Yeah, so I'll do Trans Gran Canaria. They just moved it up to a series bonus on the Ultra Trail World Tour. So that kind of helped bring me there. I want to try to win the Ultra Trail World Tour this year. It's going to be an incredible race with incredible competition as usual. So excited to come out. We're actually going to come out and stay in Gran Canaria all of January and train in the mountains and on the island there. Get used to the heat, but also get used to the trails. So that'll be fun. I might try to do a smaller race, maybe in Portugal if there is anything in January, just to kind of get a rust buster to get my legs going for Trans Gran Canaria. After that, I'm going to do a race in China possibly. I just picked up a new watch sponsor called Coros. And it's amazing. They're amazing watches. They just launched their first watch in May, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it better than any watch I've ever tried. So but they're inviting me to come out to a race in China in April, actually.
Sorry, Hayden. It's a GPS watch?
GPS, yep. GPS watch, similar to Suuntos and Garmin's and all that, but I like them a lot, man. Like, they've been great. They're so user-friendly, which is the most important thing. And the price point is incredible. I mean, for the quality of watch you're getting, it's only $299, wow, which is really cheap compared to what other brands sell their watches for. So it's incredible. I really like them a lot. But they invited me to a race out in China that I'm probably going to do in April. Probably 50K or an 80K, not sure yet. And then I'm going to do the Broken Arrow Sky Race in June here in the US. I kind of want to stick to the US for most of the summer so I can have that stability and I can train at altitude all summer. I live at 6,000 feet. So it's like a perfect training spot. I got high alpines and really good stuff that I can train on. And so I'm only doing 3 races for the first part of the year because everything is centered on UTMB. And I don't want to kill myself before UTMB. I really want to be prepared going into that race. And so I've strategically picked these races for that specific reason, so I can have a really good training block and really make a push at UTMB and hopefully become the first American male to win UTMB. Yeah, and so that's my ultimate goal, is to win that race. And then after that race, I might do a small short race out in Iceland, and then I'm gonna maybe go after the North Face again in San Francisco in November next year. But I haven't really planned that out. There might be a Grand Canyon rim to rim to rim FKT attempt that I do at some time this year if I can fit it in. I really want to go after that record.
Walmsley has that record, doesn't he?
Yeah, Walmsley. It's a really hard record. It's incredibly, tough record that it's going to be hard to beat. But I think I train in the canyon. I live really close to the canyon, and so if anybody has a good shot of getting it, I think I have a good shot. And so, yeah, I'll go after that at some point this year. Hopefully, if not this year, next year. But those are the races. I'm specifically.
Gotcha.
With the main focus races being Trans Gran Canaria, Broken Arrow, UTMB, and then North Face, San Francisco.
Cool. All right, awesome. We also have a question from Bruno Santos. What was your worst running experience? I guess like your worst low and your best, like your most memorable moment in running. Your worst and your best.
Worst was probably Transvolcania last year. But it was a high too, because I finished that race and I fought through some really, really hard pain. I mean, I was having stomach issues for the whole last 15 miles of that race. I was leading the race with Tim Frericks for almost 50 kilometers, and then I just blew up. And I finished the race. I walked the last 15 miles to the finish. It was hard. It was really, really hard, really, really hard. But I did it out of respect for the race and out of respect. I wasn't injured. I was just sick and not feeling good. And so I was like, hey, man, I got to finish the race. And it's an incredible island. It's beautiful. Why not?
Yeah.
So I had a good time seeing the views and having the great people, take me into the finish line. But it was hard. It was really hard to blow up that bad and feel that horrible. The best I've ever felt in a race was CCC. I honestly did not hurt that entire race, man.
Wow.
I'm not lying either. I'm not just being, weird that way, but I didn't hurt, man. I strategically had that race planned out perfectly, and I executed my plan perfectly. My nutrition was on point, and I felt so strong that entire race, and ended up finishing the race feeling like, man, I could go another 100K. I'd be fine. So it was an incredible day. So
that must be an amazing feeling. I've had races, ultras, the first 50K I did, when I finished, I literally felt like, if there was a day I was going to do 100K, today would have been the perfect day, because I actually felt I did have a little bit of a low point, but I felt amazing. And I was like, wow, today I should have done 100K, because I would have been able to finish today.
Everything was clicking, man. And it's incredible when it all clicks. So.
Yeah. It's rare, I guess, in a race, especially at that distance. But yeah, I can only imagine. Okay, great. We also have another question from Manuel Murais. Now, we all know that in ultra running, obviously everyone has a competitive fire, but everyone kind of gets along. But do you feel that you have any sort of a competition, or maybe even a friendly competition with any other runner? Maybe Jim or Zach or Sage or whoever?
I'd say the thing about it with the elites, at least my perspective, is yes, we're all friends on and off the course. And yes, we lift each other during the race, but we all want to beat each other. We're all competing for the win, and we're all going to go out there and we're going to push as hard as we can and push each other and try to break each other. but that's what makes us run such fast times. That's what makes us run to levels that we don't even know are possible. But yeah, like we're all competing. We're all friends on and off. But during the race, it's business, man. I mean, we're out there to beat each other and to compete against each other and give people a show. And that's what's so cool about it, is you can be friends off it, but on it, you're down to business, and you're there to beat each other and to push each other to a level that you don't even know is possible.
All right, cool. Barbara Fernandez has a question. What was your first race in Europe, and how did it go?
Transvolcania was the first race in Europe. We just talked about that. It didn't go too well. But
right,
it was
fine.
A good experience. It was a learning experience.
Okay, all right.
Since then, all my other European races have gone excellent. So
yeah, cool.
Yeah,
awesome. Okay, so we actually talked about the FKT. You actually have the FKT at the Zion National Park, which is awesome. Which is actually right near where you're from, isn't it?
Yeah, I live 10 minutes from the entrance. So
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So we talked about you'd like to do the rim to rim, but would you ever think about doing any multi-day races like Marathon des Sables or?
I did a multi-stage race this year. I did.
Oh, really?
I did the Costa Rica Coastal Challenge in Costa Rica on 5-day stage race in Costa Rica last February. Really hot, really humid, but beautiful and amazing. It was a hard race though, really, really hard race. Me and Tom Evans ran the race, and we kind of duked it out the whole entire week. So
there, actually one of the collaborators of Xtrail, she actually does quite a few of our interviews and she works with us, is Esther Alves. She did the Coastal Challenge. I don't know if she did it last year, but I know she did it 2 years ago.
Oh no, she did it last year. Yeah.
Or last year.
This year. This year. She was in it this year.
I think she's in it the last 2 years, I believe. I could be mistaken.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I met her there. Yeah, for sure. She's a Solomon athlete, right?
Yeah. She's a member of Xtrail Running Forum.
Yeah. I think her and her husband were out there, and she did great. I think she took second this year, and I think she won last year.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I actually did an ultra in May, and my girlfriend met Esther and had a long conversation with her. And then I went to an aid station, and her husband was there, and I spoke to him for a while. And yeah, he was a great guy. Both of them. Both her husband and her. Really, really
great
cool people,
man. I don't know about any more stage races in the future, though, man. Those things are tough, man. Like, they're good for training. I mean, maybe I'll do one for like a training block, but probably not a very competitive one, so I can just focus on the training aspect, because man, when you're having to push so hard every single day, like it's tough, man. It's tough. And I kind of like the one shot, like
right.
Yeah, you don't have to wake up the next morning and have to do it again.
I would really, really love to do a stage race. And the reason is being in the middle of the packer. The camaraderie and the relationships that you develop with these people, because you're with them for 5, 6, 7 days. I think that's the part that actually drives me more to doing it than the actual running itself.
Yeah.
I just think it would be cool to be around these people that enjoy the same thing you do for 5, 6 days.
Exactly. Yeah. I think I would love that too. Like I will do a stage race, but I don't want to be considered an elite. So
hey man, why don't you just do one where you just take your time, just relax.
Yeah. I can do that, man. That's where my coach comes into play, man. He's got to control me, because I push too hard sometimes, and sometimes I get myself into trouble. So
gotcha. Man, you got to hang out with us mid-packers, man. We're a lot of fun.
Anytime, man. I'll come hang out with you anytime.
Definitely, man. Hey man, the door's open whenever you want. But we'll talk about that after the interview.
Yeah.
Okay, good. We actually have a question from David Stevenson. What's your favorite?
I know him.
No, you do. Well,
he's
great.
from here. He lives here.
Well, his question has to do with Utah. What's your favorite Southern Utah trail? And thanks for the question, Dave.
Yeah, my favorite Southern Utah trail. Oh man, that's a hard one. I love the Zion trails, man. It's hard to beat the Zion trails, but probably my favorite one is it has to be there's this trail called Chuckwalla. It's a trailhead in St. George, Utah, and it's where I grew up. I started running those trails when I was in high school for cross country. Like I would kind of like get away from the team and kind of like sneak my way over onto the trails because I loved running trails so much. The coach would be like, "No, we need to run roads," and I'd be like, "No, I'm gonna go do the trails because that's what I love to do." And I kind of sneak away from the rest of everybody. And there's this trail called like Chuckwalla, Scout Cave, Paradise Rim. They're all kind of this trail system. And man, those are where I found my love for running. I ran the trail yesterday, and every time I go back on that trail, man, my passion for running, it just comes back. And I just, awesome. I realize why I'm a trail runner and why I love it. And it just brings such a peace and such a sweet spirit into my life that I'm like, man, I love this. I love my life.
Awesome.
You know,
that's awesome. That's awesome that you feel that way, man. Most people don't find that in life. It's great that you did.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I just want to remind everyone that you can ask or make any comments to Hayden via Facebook, and we'll ask as many questions as we can. And also a thanks to our sponsor, Comper Sport, for sponsoring this. Okay, we have a question from Manuel Murais. Now, you are sponsored by Hoka One One. I hope they go One One.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you said it right. So
okay, Hoka One One. What's your favorite Hoka shoe, and how many pairs do you use per year?
Oh, how many pairs? I go through quite a bit. I run pretty heavy mileage, so I probably go through 12 to 16 pairs a year.
Wow.
I mean, I like to rotate my shoes, and luckily I have a sponsor who provides enough gear for me that I can do that, you know. Hoka treats me so well. They've treated me so well for years, and I'm very, very thankful and very grateful for that. But yeah, I like to rotate so I can prevent injury at all costs, you know, even though the shoes probably have a little bit more miles they can put on them. I'm careful because, you know, one injury can ruin a whole season, you know?
Yeah.
And so my favorite Hoka shoe currently is the Torrent, actually, the new Hoka Torrent. I love that shoe. It's great.
A nice looking shoe too.
Yeah, it's a little less stack height, but it still has the cushion, which it's not, you know, you're not getting rid of that Hoka cushion. And I love it, man. The tread on the bottom is very grippy and works really well on technical trail. And it's been a great shoe for me so far.
Okay, good. Yeah, Manuel also just made a comment. 12. That's one a month.
Hey, man, I'm running 150 miles a week though.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Peak, so
yeah, that's a lot.
You know, that's 600 miles on a shoe in a month. So
yeah, that's like 1,000 kilometers a month. That's a lot of mileage. That's a lot of mileage. All right, great. Okay, good. So what are we've talked about your shorter term goals the next racing season, FKTs, we've talked about multi-day races. What are your long-term goals in this sport?
Long-term goals, to do this as long as I possibly can. You know, I don't want to be a one and done type guy. Like, I don't want to just have 3 to 5 years where I'm on top and then I'm completely burned out. I want to be in this sport forever, you know, because yeah, I want to win these races now, and I want to win, you know, move into 100 milers and win them and do all that. But down the road, you know, I want to be fit enough and, you know, healthy enough that I can maybe attempt, you know, these big long trails, you know, like the Corsica Trail, or, you know, maybe the Appalachian Trail here in the US, or, you know, I love running. I love running. You know, everyone on my team used to call me a soul runner. You know, they used to, you know, say like, oh, Hayden just like, he loves running more than anybody. Like it's weird. And I love being out there. I love running with friends. I love, running with my wife. I want to be able to be healthy enough that I can run with my kid, when he gets older, if he wants to run, and so I want to, definitely be in the sport for a long time. But that being said, I have goals. I want to win UTMB. I want to win Western States, multiple times. I want to compete in the biggest races in the world, and I want to be in contention to win every single one of those races. And I think the most important thing is just to get better every single year, and I feel like I had a good year this year, but I feel like I have so much potential and I can be even better. Like I can be a lot better actually, because there were a lot of things like injuries and different things that kind of limited me this year. And if I can take control of all those things, man, like I think I could be even better than I can have a better year than I had this year, and it would be incredible.
That's awesome, man. I'll be rooting for you.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Now, what a lot of everyone here in Portugal would like to know, do you have any races planned in Portugal? Now, we've talked about, or before the interview, we talked a little bit about that you're actually looking for a race maybe in this area. But have you thought about any races that you would really like to do in Portugal?
Yeah. I actually almost was going to do the Madeira Island Ultra Trail this year, the MIUT. But I ended up picking Gran Canaria, and I could do both, but it may be a little too much, if I want to really focus on UTMB. I don't want to kill myself at the beginning of the year. But MIUT, Madeira Island Ultra Trail, is definitely on my radar. It's a race that I want to do in the near future. So yes. There also is the Madeira Island Sky Race.
Yeah.
Look, that one looks kind of fun, I probably won't make it out to World Champs this year. I don't know. It's just not on my schedule. But I don't know, man. Like if you guys have any suggestions, like I got invited to the I don't know how you say it, is it Azores? Is that how you say it?
The Azores, yeah.
Azores trail race, the ultra marathon out there. I got invited out to that one. That one looks incredible. So
I've never been out there, but it looks amazing out there. It's a series of islands.
Yeah.
That it just looks amazing to run. But they're the islands. Like Madeira is an island. Azores is a chain of islands in the Atlantic.
Yeah.
But when you come, we'd like to see you come to continental Portugal, so we can all go
mainland. I don't know, man. Like, what races do you guys recommend? I mean, if there's anything in January this year, hey, man, I might be open to something like that because,
gotcha.
Yeah, because I'll be out there, and it's not that long of a trip to get to mainland Portugal from Gran Canaria. So.
Well, we talked before the interview. I'm going to see if I'll send you some races that are in the area. I don't know how many there are at the end of January. I definitely know about one, but I'll look up.
Or middle of January works too. So
I'm sorry?
I said middle to late January. Like I'm getting there on January 4th and I leave February 1st.
Gotcha. So you have plenty of time.
Yeah, anytime in the middle to late of January. If you have any recommendations on races, I'd definitely be open to talking about it, or connecting with some race directors and seeing what I could do. I'm looking for maybe 50K or less though, like because I don't want to go too long because
gotcha.
I got to get ready for Gran Canaria. So
it's funny because I don't know if you remember, but before the interview, I had mentioned Lausanne Trail to you about a possibility. Once we asked this question, our comments section just blew up with Lausanne Trail. So
hey,
there's that one.
Yeah, that definitely. I'll look into that. Because what's the distance on that? Or
I think it's 45. I think.
Ah, dude, perfect. That's perfect.
It has over 3,000 meters of climbing.
Yeah, connect me with the race director, and we'll get it going, hopefully.
We're actually going to be doing a live feed. Xtrail Running Forum is going to be doing a live feed from Lausanne Trail.
Oh, so cool. Yeah.
I'll definitely let you know. I'll talk to some people and see what I can find out for you, and I'll definitely let you know as soon as possible.
Cool. Yeah.
But literally, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's like 7 people, like 6 or 7 people who all Lowe's on Trail. But we'll look into that one. If I find anything else, I'll let you know.
And I've never been to Portugal, so it's definitely a place I want to go, like really bad. So I've never been.
You will not regret it.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that you will not regret it. If you like to eat and you love a beautiful place and you love great people, then Portugal is the place for you.
Hey, man. Hey, yeah.
All right, great. We actually have, we were talking about Esther Alves a little while ago with the Coastal Challenge. She actually has a question for you.
Okay.
Hayden, do you train or run at altitude to prepare for races?
Yeah. I live at altitude, and I do most of my training at altitude. The cool spot is where I live. I live at about a little less than 2,000 meters elevation, I think. I'm trying to do the conversions. But 6,000 feet, a little over 6,000 feet elevation. And within 30 minutes, I can get up to trails that are 12,000 feet elevation. So, 4,000 meters. And then I can get down to, with 30 minutes the next way, I'm down at 2,000 feet elevation. And so, yes, I live at altitude. I do most of my training at altitude. I see a big difference when I train at altitude and when I don't train at altitude. It really helps me a lot. And yeah, that's why I moved here, because I used to live lower elevation and I moved to the mountains. A big reason for that was the elevation, because my body responds really, really well to elevation training.
Gotcha. That's great. Actually, I have the exact kilometers and meters and the elevation gain for Lausanne Trail, in case you're interested. It's 43 kilometers and it's 3,200 meters.
That sounds nice, man. That's tough, but that's a good one.
I'm telling you, like it's the thing about Portugal is, and we talked a little bit about this before, we don't really have the elevation that you live at or like the Alps or anything. We have one really big mountain that's a little bit higher in elevation, but all these races, I mean, you do anything over 40 kilometers, everything's going to be over like 2,500 meters.
Wow. Yeah.
Everything. So we're not really high at altitude, but there's a lot of rolling hills and smaller mountains that are in a lot of these races.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, sounds fun.
Oh man, it's a blast. Okay, we don't have any more questions. I think we're coming to the end of the interview. Is there anything else that you'd like to add, Hayden?
No, I mean, thanks for having me on. I hope I can come out to Portugal, and if you're ever in my neck of the woods, out here in Utah near Zion, let me know. I'll give you some trail recommendations. Maybe if I have time, I'll go out and run with people. I love connecting with people and running with people out here and showing off, where I live. And I just like to thank, you guys, like to thank my sponsors for all they've done for me, Unived Sports, Hoka, Nathan, Koros, Revent Optics. I mean, I have a great support system, and it's just amazing. They help me, to get to the level that I'm at today, and I wouldn't be here without them. So
awesome. All right. So Hayden, I want you to hang on just a little bit after the interview. But just to sign off, listen, we're all very grateful that you joined us today. It actually the interview ended up going much longer than I had expected. But
it's fine. Yeah.
First of all, man, seriously, very, very informational. I learned a lot. I'm sure everyone learned a lot. You're a great guy, and it was an absolute pleasure, man. Thank you so much, and I really hope to have you on here again.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime. Just connect with me anytime. You know how to get in contact with me. So
yeah, sounds good. All right, great. Okay, so if you could just hang on for 1 second. All right, thanks everyone for watching our live interview. Thanks for all the comments and all the questions. We greatly appreciate it. And don't forget to go to Xtrail Running Forum. And thank you very much. And I hope to see you all again soon. Thanks a lot.